I give the countdown, and 3, 2, 1, you're on.
Welcome to the WalterFootball.com Fantasy Football Show for Week 13. It's our Thanksgiving Day special with the 3 games on Thanksgiving and then the rest of the slate on Sunday as usual. Joined once again by Michael Hofer. Michael, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you doing, Walter?
I'm doing well. I can't wait for the games on Thursday. It's always fun, especially since they added the third game, and there should be some fun contests on DraftKings and whatnot. So also joined by Kim Calhoun. Kim, how are you?
Hi, Walter. I'm doing great. And yeah, I was going to bring that up to you. I was going through my DraftKings today, and they've got all kinds of free Thanksgiving days saying thank you for playing DraftKings with us.
Yeah, they gave out 3 free tickets, I believe, to play in the showdown. So it should be a lot of fun, and there's no risk involved, obviously. So hopefully one of us will take down the big prize. So
I'm definitely paying attention. Not that I don't anyway, but I'm definitely paying attention this week.
Yeah. So we can look behind a little bit for Week 12. Michael, I don't know if anything stood out to you in Week 12 that you want to discuss.
I was pretty disappointed with the Green Bay San Francisco game. As soon as Blanco went out, that game was over.
Yeah, they couldn't block. I thought the one advantage that Green Bay had going into the game was that D Ford was out, the other pass rusher they have across from Nick Bosa. And then that advantage went away very quickly when Brian Bulaga was lost. And Aaron Rodgers had one of the worst games I can remember from him when he's been healthy. He's had a few clunkers when he's been injured, but he's healthy and he really struggled. So they didn't convert a third down, I believe, and they only had 104 passing yards from Rodgers. Very disappointing. And I had the Packers in the Super Contest, unfortunately. So I was 3-1 on the day heading into that last game, and I thought, man, if Green Bay covers, it'll be 4-1 and be pretty sweet. But they lost, so it was unfortunate.
Yeah, it was horrific.
Yeah, and then the other primetime game we had the Ravens and the Rams, and
Lamar Jackson was outstanding.
He was unbelievable, and I don't know. I don't want to go crazy and be overreactory and say there's no way to stop him, because it sort of reminded me a little bit of that Michael Vick Monday night game from almost 10 years ago now, but when he stomped all over the Redskins and it looked like Michael Vick couldn't be stopped, and he didn't do too well after that. But I think Lamar Jackson's going to fare better than Vick did. It looks like he's coached very well.
Yes.
And, but it'll be interesting to see how he does against the 49ers defense that just shut down Aaron Rodgers. What do you think about that game? What do you think about Jackson's outlook for that game?
I think I like Baltimore.
Okay. Well, do you think they'll win in a blowout, or do you think they'll be close?
I think it'll be close.
Yeah. So I had issues ranking Jackson this week. I ended up putting him third. And he's been the top quarterback, or maybe his second best fantasy quarterback almost every week. But against this 49er defense that can put pressure on quarterbacks, very heavy pressure, as to say, without blitzing. I think that's kind of the name of the game when you're trying to stop an elite quarterback. We saw it in the Super Bowl with Tom Brady twice, where the Giants were able to pressure Brady heavily with only 4 guys. And they were able to play man coverage underneath, and Brady just really struggled in those 2 games. I wonder if Jackson's going to regress because it's not like he has an elite receiver to throw to. Marquise Brown's is a solid player. But otherwise, they just have a bunch of scrubs at receiver, and it'll be tough for them to get open. So if Jackson's pressured heavily and none of his receivers get open, I wonder if Jackson could really have a bad game. It seems crazy to think that after that Monday night game where he just cruised all over the Rams. But, this is a different caliber of opponent. It's not even close.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think so. So I think those are the 2 main takeaways. Also, the Saints-Panthers game had a lot of fireworks. Christian McCaffrey was unbelievable once again. He was one of the top running backs from this past week. Actually, was not needed to win the grand prize on DraftKings because Derrick Henry went crazy. Leonard Fournette had a nice game. But McCaffrey, despite the tough matchup, he was still, I believe, the 3rd highest scoring running back on the week. He's just there's really no stopping him. It's crazy. But the Panthers had a chance to win. The sly kicker kind of foiled their plans.
Yeah, it's a rough week for kickers.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And now the Panthers looking for new kickers. So, yeah, I do wonder. I think the Panthers are very interesting this week because usually I've noticed when I've been looking back on games in previous years that that teams that are effectively eliminated from the playoffs, they tend to be no-shows in games. And like an example from last year I want to give you is that the Broncos, they won a few games in a row. I don't know if you remember late in like November, they were kind of surging toward the playoffs. And then they lost inexplicably at San Francisco. It was kind of a surprise. I think they took that game for granted. They had a Saturday game coming up against Cleveland. And they lost that game, and that effectively eliminated them from the playoffs. And against the Browns, they just were no-shows. They looked like they put forth no effort in that game. And I look for those spots late in the year, especially, come playoff time for fantasy. And I think you want to avoid those areas. So I find myself wondering if Carolina is going to be one of those no-shows because they just dropped to 5-6. They're 3 games out of the wild card spot. The Vikings are 8-3. And I think it's still possible for them to get to the playoffs if they win out. I just wonder if they're going to be no-shows. What do you think about that? Do you think the Panthers might quit, or do you think they'll have like a one last stand?
Yeah, I think they're a little bit flawed. I don't have a lot of faith in them.
Yeah, it's hard to, especially they've been blown out twice recently against the 49ers and the Falcons. And it really surprised me that DVOA from Football Outsiders, they have these great rankings for, kind of looking at all the metrics. And I was shocked to see the Panthers ranking. Do you know what it is? I'd like for you to guess where Carolina's ranked in DVOA, because it's really surprising.
I have no idea, but I'm sure. But you have to remember again, they're still working with a second line quarterback. So, the fact that their ranking is amazing to me. But where are they?
Well, where do you think they should be? Because they're 5-6. They're probably in the middle of the pack somewhere. That's probably where they should be, right? Like around 15 to 20 ish.
Yeah.
DVOA ranks them 28th in the NFL. That means they're the 5th worst team in the NFL according to metrics. So
wow,
that was eye opening to me. I know they're missing, obviously Cam Newton's out, but they're also missing K'Wan Short, great defensive tackle. They just lost the Tari Poe to injury. And that still really surprised me because they've been competitive in most games. They almost beat New Orleans in New Orleans. So, so I'd be a little scared to play some Panthers this week, although Christian McCaffrey still should have a great game. I don't know about DJ Moore. I do rank him favorably right now, but I'm thinking about dropping that ranking. Another team I'm concerned that might quit is Jacksonville. They came out of the bye 4-5. And they just got blown out twice in a row by divisional opponents. And now they're 4-7. The thing is, they're only 2 games out of the wild card. So, mathematically, they're still alive, absolutely. But the fact that they were just blown out twice by divisional opponents, I wonder if they're going to mail it in, especially with Nick Foles playing poorly. They just might think, this guy's a lemon, and we might not be able to win. So, out of those 2, do you think it's more likely that Carolina or Jacksonville will quit?
I think Carolina has a better chance than Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville is pretty much done.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 4-7. It's tough. They're only 2 games out of the wild card, but there are a few teams that are 6-5. I know the Raiders are, the Titans are, the Steelers are, and then there are a couple of 5-6 teams. So they have to pass all of those teams, and all it takes is for one team to get hot, and then they can't make the playoffs. So I worry about Jacksonville, which is a shame because I think DJ Chark has an amazing matchup against Tampa secondary, which actually played well last week, which was another surprise. I don't know if you saw that coming, Michael. I know you live in Tampa. Did you foresee that at all? The Tampa blowout?
They do pretty well against Atlanta.
Yeah, they put a lot of pressure on Matt Ryan. He was sacked 6 times, but that's not even indicative of how much pressure they put on him. He was under siege almost every single dropback. It was ridiculous, and he just had no chance. And I think that makes me worried. So I guess we can transition to the Thanksgiving games.
Well, it's pretty cool that both defensive tackles got touchdowns too. That's very unusual.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's bad for fantasy, but I guess I guess it really depends. Like if you're playing against one of the opposing players in that team and you see the defense touchdown, you're pretty happy. But so going into Thanksgiving, that Atlanta New Orleans game Sunday night. So I know Matt Ryan is I think he's pretty chalky. I want to make sure I have this right. So the Thursday night slate, out of all the quarterbacks, Matt Ryan is projected to be the third highest owned on DraftKings at 15%.
Wow.
So that worries me because Matt Ryan in the first half of the season, he posted some great stats, but they were all in garbage time. And when he's been ahead after the bye, he hasn't really produced that well. Just look at his numbers. He since the bye, 15 fantasy points, 19 and then 9. So not very good. And it's a tough matchup against the Saints, who bring a lot of pressure. And we all know that Atlanta's offensive line is very poor. So what do you think about Matt Ryan on Thanksgiving night?
I'm not a Matt Ryan fan. I don't have a lot of faith in him either.
Yeah, I worry about that. I don't think I'm going to play much of Matt Ryan on Thanksgiving. For me, I would say my favorite quarterbacks on Thanksgiving rank. I would say I would put Drew Brees number 1, but he's projected to be 24% owned. So that worries me a little bit. And I think you want to if you play multiple lineups, I think it's fine to have Brees in some lineups. But if you want to play one lineup, I think you have to be more different than that. The highest projected owned quarterback is Dak Prescott at 33%. I would not play Prescott. What are your thoughts on Prescott against Buffalo?
He needs to show up after what happened last week. So I think he'll actually probably do pretty well. The Cowboys have a tendency to play well on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, I just worry about the matchup. Buffalo's pass defense ranks 4th in fantasy points allowed, and they have a great cornerback in Tre'Davious White, who should be able to cover Amari Cooper. Cooper didn't have a single reception last week. He almost had one at the end, but he didn't catch a pass. He's not healthy, and he has a tough matchup. So it'll be tough to play Cooper. And if Cooper's covered, then it's like, who does Prescott throw to? It's going to be Gallup and Randall Cobb. Yeah, like not great options, and so I think at 33% ownership with Prescott, I think he's someone to clearly avoid. I would not play Prescott on Thanksgiving. So the other quarterbacks are Brees, which I think you would agree that he's going to have a great game, right? Yeah. The problem is that I could see a game where Brees throws for 290 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that may not win you a tournament because he's the most expensive quarterback. Someone else could do better, like, for example, Josh Allen, if he runs around a lot and gets a lot of rushing yards and he scores a rushing touchdown, like, he's going to beat Brees. And Allen is only projected to be 13% owned. So I think Allen seems more appealing to me. Even Mitchell Trubisky. Trubisky's projected to be 9% owned. I played a lot of Trubisky last week, and that allowed me. Yeah, I texted my friend Kenny that I had Trubisky in 55% of my DraftKings lineups, and I didn't hear back from him and until Tuesday, and he's like, well, I'm really sick because he does another podcast with me, and I'm like wow, that Trubisky ownership really affected you that badly. So it was. It actually worked out. Trubisky did well fantasy-wise last week. He scored 21 DraftKings points at a very cheap price, and he has a very easy matchup against Detroit. So I think Trubisky might be my favorite quarterback option on Thanksgiving, as crazy as it sounds.
Wow.
Yeah. He's much cheaper than everyone else. He's the cheapest starting quarterback. He's only 5,300. He's, as I said before, projected for low ownership. And I made a lineup this morning. I put Trubisky in there. Because of his low price, I was able to get Ezekiel Elliott, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, and Allen Robinson in that lineup. And you can't do that with any other quarterback.
So he's cheaper than Driscoll?
Yeah, Jeff Driscoll's $5,500, $200 more.
That's incredible.
Driscoll's not someone I would play. Not only is he a bad quarterback, he also has some sort of hamstring injury. So that'll affect him. It might affect his running, and running is the only thing he does well. So if he can't run, it's going to be bad. And for that reason, I would say that Chicago's defense is probably the best thing you can do at Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As for the running backs at Thanksgiving, so you have Alvin Kamara as the projected highest scorer, I believe, at the position, and then you have Ezekiel Elliott, and then I would say Tariq Cohen versus Devontae Freeman is I think it's very interesting. The same price. Freeman will be back from injury. He's going to catch a lot of passes, but Tariq Cohen's been he's been more involved in Chicago's offense recently, which I think is a good thing because he's so explosive. And then you have Devin Singletary, who's sort of in that price range too. So, Michael, who would you like better out of Cohen, Freeman, and Singletary?
Singletary.
Okay. Against Dallas' defense, I think is pretty good. You would still like him?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think he's a good play. I think I probably have them all evenly. I like all of them, but I don't really differentiate between those. So, and then you have the receivers. I would say Michael Thomas is probably going to be in every lineup I have. He's just unbelievable. I don't know how teams stop him. And then Julio Jones is a question mark. We don't know if Julio Jones is going to play. I think if Julio Jones is out, I would say Christian Blake is going to play instead of him. And I would not be afraid to play some Christian Blake if Julio is out. So I would be looking to that. Otherwise, I think Anthony Miller is a good option. He's only 3,900, I believe, and he's been seeing a lot of targets recently. And I think that he's a great option if you want to pay up a quarterback. If you want to play Drew Brees, I think Anthony Miller is a good way to balance out your finances.
Well,
okay.
That's pretty creative.
Yeah. All right. And anything else stand out to you from the Thanksgiving games?
Not really.
Okay.
It's going to be a busy day with the games. So those are going to be your top pick quarterbacks, and
yeah, I would say the three quarterbacks I'm going to be playing is Breeze, Trubisky, and Josh Allen. I would avoid Prescott because he's the highest owned and he has a tough matchup. I would avoid Matt Ryan because I just don't think he's going to do well, and Driscoll's just terrible. So I would say those three I like the best. If you play Breeze, who's going to be more popular than the other two, I think you need to be different elsewhere. So like Anthony Miller he's not going to be super lowly owned, but I think he's an option. I think Ted Ginn is not going to be very highly owned, and Ginn has been getting a lot of deep shots recently. I think he had like 140 air yards last week, which means like he was targeted deep. He just didn't catch them. So if he catches some of those deep passes, he can help you win a tournament. So I think getting to Ginn is an option, especially if you play with Breeze. You can pair the two, and if Ginn catches a deep touchdown, you get both the passing touchdown and the receiving touchdown.
Okay.
Yeah, I like Ginn.
Yeah, I like Ginn. I like him this week. Ginn and Miller is. I think that's an interesting situation because they're both similarly priced. Who would you like between Ginn and Miller?
I'd definitely go with Ginn because you never know when Taylor Gabriel is going to go off either.
Well, actually, Gabriel is ruled out this morning.
Is he really?
Yeah, Gabriel's ruled out. Ben Braunecker, their third string tight end, was also ruled out.
Why are they, so explain that to me. I know my sister's probably laughing, but why are they ruled out? I mean, what does that mean?
They're just injured, so they're not going to play on Thanksgiving.
Wow.
So yeah, they're out for Thanksgiving. So the Bears will be down to their fourth string tight end. It's someone named Jepser Horsted, which almost doesn't sound like a real name, but somehow it's a real name. It's not even Jesper, it's Jepser. So I don't know if they misspelled it.
Like Jester, like.
I don't know if they misspelled it on his birth certificate or not, but it's going to be Jepser Horsted. Not someone I would recommend on DraftKings, but
Okay.
maybe in that showdown, maybe it'll be $200, and that'll let you get to.
You never know. He might come out of the gate and be something pretty amazing. You never know.
Yeah, maybe he'll win that Thanksgiving trophy they give out to the players. And here's
What is
Jeffster
that?
Horsted, who
Is
caught
it a
3
turkey
touchdowns.
trophy? So, real quick, can I share my screen for a second?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, let's see if I can do this. All right. So this is what's interesting about DraftKings. Like they really go overboard on Thanksgiving Day, right? And these are all the free contests that you can get into and play for free all day long. I'm not advertising for them. I just think it's cool. You know, like you can really practice and exercise your skills and not have to worry about the money you lose. Of course, I do that with Michael too, with flea flicker, which is, I don't know why they call it flea flicker, but we play quite a bit. But I'm not advertising for them. I just think it's way cool that you can get out there and do this. You can also go to walterfootball.com, and he's got a free game as well, which I think is very cool that you can test your skills on that. I find even though I'm testing my skills, I'm still coming at the bottom of some of these, but it's fun and I'm learning. So, but you can take your screen back now. So.
Yeah, real quick, just want to point out that looks like you have some rewards to claim. So if you go to the rewards at the top menu, the one with the orange dot.
This?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. What does that mean?
You get looks like usually you will get daily rewards if you play. They'll give you stuff for free, which sometimes they'll give you a ticket to play for free in a contest. Or they'll give you crowns, which is their currency, or sometimes they'll just flat out just give you money for free. So yeah, if you play every day, they'll give you stuff for free.
I don't quite play every day, but I am playing consistently. I am getting out there and making my picks and everything. But so if I click on mission, wherever the orange dot was, it should. Here it is. Complete missions and earn rewards. Okay.
Yeah, right. So it says if you play in any $5 contest, you get 125 crowns. So crowns is their currency. I believe 500 crowns is $1 for them. So it's not much, but it's if you play often on DraftKings, you can keep claiming rewards, and the more you play, the higher rewards, the better rewards you get.
No, and I didn't know that. I didn't even know what that red dot or orange dot meant. So that's pretty cool. I've used up all my tickets, but every once in a while I'll get a free ticket come in.
And there are always contests for free too. Like you mentioned last week, the Sunday night game always has that KFC contest, and you play for free, and it's fun and you learn, like you said. So if you keep gaining experience and keep getting better, you can eventually gain confidence and play $1 contest, and if you keep getting better, you play $5 and $10 contests. So it's fun.
I get in. I think it's fun because once you're engaged in that kind of, you've got your team pick, then you've got something to pull for. So it makes the game a little interesting. I'm learning more about the football game, and I think it's great. I appreciate you guys being patient with me. Michael has been extremely patient with me, given my situation last week. I didn't get a chance to really focus on the game.
And you still won, and you set a scoring record.
Nah.
I set a scoring record. And I apologize. I was just so preoccupied, but I did get out and play a little bit. I didn't think I was going to get a chance to, but yeah, it makes it fun. And Mike even gave me, not Mike, Walter gave me a few tips on a game that I tried to play as well. My problem with that, folks, you got to remember to hit that button that says submit. Don't hit that button, because I had it all picked and I clicked reserve instead of, and I'll sit on it for a minute, and I forgot to submit it, and I think I had a pretty good ticket, but anyway. So you got to hit that button, submit, otherwise you're not playing. So
Well, I have a horror story as well. I was playing baseball DraftKings in I think it was August, and so I reserved a bunch of tickets in a contest, and I thought that the lock was at the lock when is when games start. I thought lock was 8:10, and so I was building my lineups and on Fantasy Cruncher, and I thought I liked my lineups, and so I saved it as a CSV and uploaded it to DraftKings. And I tried to upload to the contest, and it said submission a failure. And I'm like what do you mean? And so I checked the contest, and it started at 8:05 instead of 8:10, and it was like it was 8:07. Here's the worst. Here's the worst part. So I was like I felt bad about it. I had a default lineup in there, and actually had a chance. Until like the 8th inning of the last game, and I eventually lost. So I didn't win anything. So after that, I was really pissed at myself, and I'm like, well, I probably wouldn't have won big anyway, right? So I went back and looked at my lineups on Fantasy Cruncher. They allow you to see how well you would have done in the contest, and so I reran the lineups I submitted or would have submitted, and I would have won first place in that contest. It was a $20,000 grand prize that I missed out on.
never go back and look at that ever, 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 ever. I mean, that like kills you, right?
Yeah.
You know, oh gosh, I have a rule that I just don't go back and look because I don't want to know, especially how much money I would have won. That would just tear me apart. But before we get started, we do have a special guest. She's been on with us before. She seems to like what we do. It's I'm going to be honest, it's my sister, right? But what better fan to have than your sister? Her name's Kelly. Hi, Kelly. She's going to be quiet. Anyway.
She's on mute, so I don't know.
Is she on mute? Hold on just a second. Oh, she's on her mute. So anyway, guests are more than welcome to key in questions. We even had them verbally ask questions last week, and that was a lot of fun. So, feel free to ask questions. Or give us your lineup pick.
Hey, Kim, sorry about that. I was on mute.
Yeah, hi. So say hi to everybody, Kelly.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Kelly, thanks for joining us.
Hi.
So, Kelly, do you have any input on the game?
I think my 3 picks are going to be Prescott. I know they are not going to agree with this, but I think Matt Ryan's very underrated. So I'm going to go with Matt Ryan and, of course, Drew Brees because, he's amazing. So. And I'm a Cowboys fan, but I do like Drew Brees.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you like Jerry calling out his coaches?
I love it. I do. I think it's a long time in the making. He should have been doing that a long time ago.
They didn't look like they're prepared for the weather in last week's game. It took Dak Prescott till the third quarter to get gloves on.
Yeah, I think they were a little intimidated because they were playing, the Patriots. But I think overall, they held them back. They only scored 13 points on the Cowboys. So
yeah, their defense was amazing. It was the offense. They dropped so many passes, and like Prescott missed some throws, and then the special teams were terrible.
Yeah, and I think with Amari Cooper being injured too, it doesn't help them at all. So
yeah, I have to imagine that he would have made that catch in the fourth quarter if he were healthy.
Oh, absolutely, yes, I agree.
Kelly, you can play these for free on walterfootball.com too. So
well, when you come over, you're gonna have to show me how to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'll probably do pretty good at it. I love doing things like this. So I think it'll be fun. Don't underestimate that Matt Ryan though. He's not that bad, and I don't even like the Falcons. So
I like Matt Ryan as a player. I just think that his offensive line is horrible. He was under pressure every single snap last week, and Julio Jones may not play. So it's I think it's a tough situation for him, especially against the Saints defense that's very good. So
yeah,
I don't worry about Matt Ryan this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So especially that ownership, the 24% ownership. I've mentioned this in the past. So if you play on DraftKings, you're playing against tens of thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands of people. So I think it's important to have a different lineup. You know, whether it's a quarterback, if you're going with Trubisky, who's an underdog in that sense, or if you play someone chalky like Matt Ryan or Drew Brees or Dak Prescott, you need to be different elsewhere. You need to have kind of an underdog pick somewhere else, like maybe like an obscure tight end or a receiver like Ted Ginn I was talking about earlier, Anthony Miller. So you have to kind of like play a game theory sort of in a big contest like that.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you want to get to rankings? I know you wanted to have an intermission.
Absolutely. So let's take a 30-second stop here. We're trying something new.
Okay.
So now we're going to be talking about the this week's games.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me. It would help if I sorted by scorer, right? It's Jimmy Garoppolo show first. I'm like, that can't be right.
Yeah, that can't be right.
I just like him. I think he's cute. He's got a nice smile. But I know that's not why you pick him.
Some people call him Jimmy GQ, but he has a tough matchup this week. All right, the number one quarterback, Patrick Mahomes against the Raiders. So we just saw Sam Darnold throw all over the Raiders, and I like Darnold, but he's no Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is, I believe, the best quarterback in the NFL right now, and a great matchup. So he's far and away the best quarterback play. He's projected for 33 points. The next guy's 28. That would be Aaron Rodgers against the Giants. The Giants secondary is even worse than the Raiders. Mitchell Trubisky, who I just talked about, he scored 21 fantasy points against the Giants last week. Aaron Rodgers, given that Trubisky had 21, Aaron Rodgers should have at least 28. So he's an amazing play. Number 3, Lamar Jackson. We discussed him earlier. Number 4, Drew Brees. We discussed him earlier as well. He's a great matchup against Atlanta. Number 5, Russell Wilson against Minnesota. Minnesota's secondary is very bad. It's been the weakness of their team all year. I would say the one caveat is that Mike Zimmer, who's one of the best coaches in the NFL, he's coming off extra time to prepare. He usually does a great job with extra time. And Zimmer's a defensive coach. So I wonder if he's going to kind of cook up something to help the secondary. So it wouldn't surprise me if Minnesota's secondary played better, but based on how they performed before their bye, Russell Wilson would be a great play. Number 6, Jameis Winston. He throws a lot because they don't run that well, and Jacksonville's secondary is a lot worse without Jalen Ramsey. Number 7, Sam Darnold. I like Darnold against Cincinnati's defense, which is pretty bad. And I think Cincinnati will be competitive in this game with Andy Dalton. So it's not going to be like last week where Darnold does well but doesn't throw a lot in the fourth quarter. I think Darnold will be throwing a lot. Number 8, Kyle Allen. This is a matchup play against the Redskins, who have a horrible secondary. I think Kyle Allen's a great streaming option this week. Number 9, Tom Brady against the Texans. I'm a little bit worried about Brady's elbow. If he were completely healthy, I would have him higher. But he did not look like quite himself against the Cowboys. So that's why he's 9th. And then 10, Josh Allen. I discussed him. We discussed him for the Thanksgiving game. So, Michael, what do you think about this top 10?
I love Winston and I love Darnold.
Yeah, they have great matchups for sure.
Yeah.
Who would you rank higher between Mahomes and Rodgers?
Mahomes.
Yeah.
There's something up with Rodgers. It's very peculiar.
Yeah, I would say so. But against the Niners defense, they have such a great defense. So I'm willing to give them a mulligan based on what happened last week. And if he struggles against the Giants, then we'll have to worry. But we'll see how he does in this rebound game. All right, let's get to the running backs. Number 1, Christian McCaffrey, just unbelievable player. Number 2, Ezekiel Elliott on Thanksgiving. So Buffalo's run defense isn't very good. I think it's ranked in the 20s. So Elliott should have a great game. Number 3, Alvin Kamara. Atlanta's run defense is actually not that bad, but their pass defense is horrible. And so I think Kamara could have a game where he catches 10 passes and it just goes crazy as a receiver out of the backfield. For that reason, I wouldn't be afraid to pair Brees with Kamara. Obviously, I would rather have like Michael Thomas or Ted Ginn as a flyer. But if you want to put Brees and Kamara in the same lineups together, I think that's Number 4, Le'Veon Bell. Cincinnati's defense is terrible. As I said, they have the worst linebacking core in the NFL. So Bell should have a big game as a receiver. Number 5, Dalvin Cook against Seattle. Not an easy matchup. Seattle's run defense is better than their pass defense, but Cook is such a great player that he just has to be up here. Number 6, Saquon Barkley. Michael, after this top 10, I want to get your take on Barkley because he was a huge disappointment for me. So in last week's DraftKings lineups, I had a lot of Trubisky and Baker Mayfield, and that plan was great. That plan was great. They both performed well above expectations, and because they were so cheap, they allowed me to get to high-priced players. But unfortunately, most of my high-priced players were Saquon Barkley and Alvin Kamara. And I had Barkley more than any other player, and he had 7 fantasy points. He was a huge disappointment. So
Hurts says he's not getting any passes.
Yeah, but he as a runner, he's not doing well either. So I wonder what's wrong with him. Do you think he's injured?
I don't know what to say. Sometimes they just go through slumps like that.
But he's so talented, and I can understand a 1 or 2 game slump. Like remember that Jets game where he had 1 rushing yard.
Yeah.
But the Jets have a great run defense, so I was like, okay, I can see that. But then he played the Bears, who just were gashed by Todd Gurley, and Gurley's not quite himself with the knee, arthritic knee. I thought Barkley would have a huge game, and he was cheap and lowly owned. I thought I had a great play on Barkley. It just didn't work out. So I don't know what to make of Barkley. I'm still going to rank him highly because of his talent, but I'm just I'd be afraid to play him a lot like I did last week.
Right.
Number 7, Aaron Jones. His receptions have gone down ever since Devontae Adams has returned, but it's a great matchup. They should be in the red zone a lot. Number 8, Josh Jacobs. I think his ceiling is enormous this week because the Chiefs' run defense is terrible. Unfortunately, his floor is very low too because I could see a situation where the Chiefs get out to a 28-7 lead, and Josh Jacobs, he's not a big factor in the passing game. So if that's the case, he's not going to be able to run a lot. So I think Jacobs is very volatile this week. So I think a great tournament play because you want to hit a home run with your players, and it doesn't really matter if you minimum cash. You want to win the tournament. So I think Jacobs is a great tournament play. But for regular fantasy, I would be a little concerned about playing him. I'd be worried. But he still is a great matchup. Number 9, Todd Gurley against Arizona. Arizona's run defense is pretty good. I think I have Todd Gurley a little too high. I might drop him in my rankings. And then 10, Phillip Lindsay. The Chargers are much weaker against the run, than the pass. So I think Lindsay could have a good game. And Lindsay has been getting most of the touches. He had 13 carries last week compared to 2 for Royce Freeman. So Lindsay's getting more of the work, and he's very talented. So I'm not going to be afraid to use him despite last week's output. And I think it helps that Drew Lock is going to play instead of Brandon Allen. So I like that. So what are your thoughts on the top 10 outside of I figure you agree with me on Gurley and Barkley. We had your take on it. What else about the top 10?
Well, Ronald Jones seems to be the real deal, and Kim's team really blew up. She had Ronald Jones, Chris Godwin, Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill, and she just put up points that nobody could beat.
And you know what? I have Coach Mike to thank for that, but unfortunately, Kim wasn't in. I just went around to really enjoy it, but probably the best game I'll ever have in my life. And,
that's right.
And I wasn't there to enjoy it.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I'm learning a lot by playing the flea flicker. And when I learned how we pick those players and then how I would do it in DraftKings as well. So it's a juggling act. I think it's a lot. I don't take this wrong, Mike. It's a lot more work on flea flicker.
Oh, sure it is. Yeah, and you haven't even drafted yet. Wait until you get to the draft. It's pretty exciting.
So I like Jones. He's 11. After I make the adjustment on Gurley, he'll be 10. So he's a great matchup. I still worry a little bit about Bruce Arians giving the ball to other running backs on that team. But
remember how long it took him to get David Johnson, give him the credit to start him. he's kind of set in his ways, and he likes the running backs to earn their job. So I think he's settled on Jones now.
Oh, well, let's hope so, because Jones is he's the best running back on that team. I know he goofed around last offseason and didn't have a good training camp, but it looks like he's finally taking his career seriously, and we could see, you know, what the talent level is, and you know, if he keeps his head on straight, he could be a great running back. So I like Jones as well. Let's get to receivers. So Michael Thomas, the de facto #1 every week. He's unbelievable. Number 2, Tyreek Hill is I think he's a great option for Sunday. And you compare Mahomes with Hill. Hill has I think he has a higher ceiling than Michael Thomas. You know, he can catch 2 70-yard touchdowns in a game, and he's just a freak. And you know, he got hurt Monday night before the bye, but it sounds like he's healthy, so I would not be afraid to play him. Number 3, Devontae Adams. Like Aaron Rodgers doesn't really have anyone else to throw to, so he's going to keep throwing to Adams, and Adams has a great matchup against the Giants, who can't cover anyone. So Adams has to be a great play this week. Number 4, DJ Moore he's transformed into a fantastic receiver. Like his route running is unbelievable, and he just keeps getting open, and his target share is high. Like he's getting 7 to 11 targets every game. He's just amazing. So I like Moore a lot. He's priced up this week on DraftKings, but I think he's worth it. Number 5, Tyler Lockett against the Vikings. I mentioned the Vikings secondary having struggles. Like I said, I think they could improve, but I would still play Lockett. He's Russell Wilson's favorite receiver. Number 6, Julio Jones. You know, this is contingent on him playing. Obviously, he's questionable. So definitely keep that in mind. He may not play. So if you use Julio in your DraftKings lineups, just make sure you're available to swap him out if he's ruled out before kickoff. So, all right, number 7, Julian Edelman. I love Edelman on DraftKings. I've been saying it for weeks because his floor is very high because he's going to catch 5 to 8 passes every game. But his ceiling is very high too because he plays with Tom Brady and he can catch a couple touchdowns a game. So Edelman is someone I love using on DraftKings. Number 9, T.Y. Hilton. He was not quite himself against the Texans. He was banged up. You could see it. He dropped a couple of passes. But he's had 9 days to heal, so I think he's going to be healthier.
He had a setback this week. They're saying he may not even play.
I didn't see anything on that, but I'll have to make sure. Hopefully not, because I love the Colts otherwise. But yeah, if he doesn't play, the Colts might be in trouble. And then number 10, DJ Chark. I worry about the Jaguars quitting, but it's a great matchup, and he's a fantastic player. So I like Chark, although it's a little risky. So what do you think about the top 10 outside of Hilton?
I think you're spot on.
Well, I got a question to ask. Because like you talk about how they become the quarterback's favorite pick, you know, because there may be nobody else to pass to. Does that make them a target and maybe more difficult to play sometimes because you realize, oh gosh, all I'm doing is throwing to this particular person? I mean, could that ever be a consideration not to pick that person?
I think it depends how popular you think they are. So, like, who are you referring to specifically?
So, like, I think you were talking about Lockett. You know, like Wilson likes to throw to Lockett, and I think there was Devontae Adams. You know that his quarterback likes to pass to him as well. That there was nobody else or was it Moore? It was probably Moore, but it was Adams. So I was just wondering when the wide receivers become that popular with their quarterback, do they become a target? And then you sit there and think it's difficult to throw to them.
Okay, I see what you mean. The thing is, they're so talented that it's more likely than not that they'll perform well. So I think a good example of that is, you know, Lockett all year has been tremendous. But last week we saw the Eagles double and triple team him almost every play, and so he did not perform well. But I think it's cyclical because if some of the other players on that team start doing well, then they'll stop double covering Lockett. We kind of see that with the Texans with DeAndre Hopkins. who constantly sees double teams. Then when Will Fuller comes back from injury, Fuller has a huge game, and then teams like, okay, we can't double cover Hopkins or else Fuller will kill us. So kind of works that way. I also think it's very matchup dependent. Like for example, the Giants don't have anyone to cover Devontae Adams. Like they just don't. Their secondary is trash. And we've seen number one receivers against them have been tremendous all year. So I think it's a very low chance that Devontae Adams busts for you. So I would still play Adams for sure. So it's as long as the matchup's easy, I think I would do it.
Okay.
All right, let's get to tight ends. So Travis Kelce, again, number one. Oakland's linebackers can't cover tight ends at all. Number two, Zach Ertz. So remember earlier in the year, people were panicking about Zach Ertz. He was not producing, but he's been on fire, and Miami's defense is terrible. So you have to play Ertz. Number three, George Kittle.
He's got a hamstring. He's sidelined for practice.
Who, Ertz?
Ertz, yeah.
I did not see. I looked at the injuries earlier.
Just came up.
Oh, just came up, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's something to be concerned about. We'll see. Wednesday practices, I think, are usually nonsense. It's you can't really determine anything from Wednesday practice reports. Usually, the Thursday and the Friday practice reports are very important. But Wednesday, you often see players sitting out, and it's like,
Sure.
Yeah, and I've learned my lesson. Like a couple years ago, I can't remember who it was. I saw a player sitting out, and I'm like, oh no, he's not going to play. And then he was fine. So I've learned. I don't even look at the Wednesday practice reports. I start looking on Thursday. Number three, George Kittle, fantastic talent, but a tough matchup against Baltimore. But you can't not play him. He's just too good. Number four, Darren Waller. Kansas City's defense does not defend tight ends well. Kansas City actually stops receivers pretty effectively, but not tight ends. So I think Waller, especially if the Raiders are behind and they have to throw a lot, I think Waller could have a big game. Number five, Evan Ingram. He has not practiced yet this week. And I just mentioned that I don't look at Wednesday practice reports. The one exception is if a player is already injured. I look to see if he's coming back. But Evan Ingram has not practiced yet this week. So we'll see about him. It's a great matchup if he plays, but we don't know if he's going to play. Number six, Hunter Henry against the Broncos. Not a great matchup, but Hunter Henry's he's such a reliable weapon for Phillip Rivers. So I like him. Number seven, Ryan Griffin. Sam Darnold's been throwing to him a lot, especially in the end zone. And Cincinnati allows a 33% boost to tight ends. So it's a great matchup, and I figure he can probably score again. Number eight, Greg Olsen against the Redskins. The Redskins tend to leave linebackers wide open for some reason. I don't know why, but they that's what they do. And Greg Olsen should have a good game. Number nine, Mark Andrews against the Niners. Niners, it's a good matchup. It's a tough matchup, I should say. But Andrews is such a reliable weapon for Lamar Jackson. He might catch a touchdown, and it's kind of slim pickings around here. And then number 10, Jack Doyle. It sounds like Eric Ebron, the other tight end on the Colts, has quit on the team. And so Jack Doyle is the lone remaining tight end, viable tight end, I should say. So, I like him this week. He should be very popular on DraftKings, but he's super cheap. So wouldn't be afraid to play him in too many lineups. So those are my tight ends, top 10 tight ends. Michael, what do you think about that?
I heard a report that they might shut Ingram down for the year.
Yeah, that would be rough. So I know he didn't practice today, and that would be a shame because he's so talented, and it's a great matchup. Green Bay defends tight ends poorly. We just saw what George Kittle did to them Sunday night. If Ingram can come back, I would love him this week. But just based on what you just said,
They just shut down Delaney Walker too. He's on IR. I'm wondering about David Njoku. He might be a good alternative.
Yeah, if he plays, yeah, he's somewhere
He hasn't
here.
played all year.
No, he hasn't, and I don't know. It's tough. He's not very good anyway. That's the problem. Like last year, he played the whole year with Baker Mayfield, and he had like one or two good games. So I wouldn't be too crazy about him. I think the Steelers will be a tough matchup for Cleveland.
There's a lot of mouths to feed there too.
Yeah, there really are, especially with Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
He's taking all those intermediate throws. So, yeah, it's tough. I don't think I would play Njoku, not this week. I think this might be a game where the Steelers just sit on the ball and control the clock for like 40 minutes and just dominate the game, and Baker Mayfield doesn't do very much. So yeah, those are my top 10 tight ends. And
it's a really thin position. People are scrambling to find guys.
Yeah, I said it's like very slim pickings.
What about Gesicki?
Gesicki,
he got a touchdown last week.
Yeah, he's okay. He's not very good, but he could fall into the end zone. So, yeah, I could say Gesicki is very comparable to about 12 tight ends this week. Like, is there a difference between Gesicki and Kyle Rudolph, or Dawson Knox, or
right? Exactly. That's what we're dealing with.
Right, or Noah Fant. Like, you're basically just taking a chance that a tight end will score, and there's not much of a difference. Like, once you get past, scroll up a little bit here. Once you get past Kelsey, Ertz if he plays, Kittle, Waller, Ingram if he plays.
I ruled out Rudolph because Thielen's coming back.
Yeah,
it actually was an option, but I figured with Thielen coming back, Rudolph he's likely to drop off again.
Yeah, but I would kind of rank him similarly to Gesicki. I really don't see much of a difference there. But like, yeah, once you get past Hunter Henry, I think that it just falls off completely.
Yeah.
So there's not much of a difference between the number 7 tight end and the number 20 tight end this week, really. So, yeah. So, I mean, that's it. Anything else? Any other questions?
Well, I think I do. Sometimes they give you a chance to pick a team, right?
For defense, right?
Right. So, who would you pick this week?
Any defense that I would say just is cheap. I'll look very quickly. I think that defense is so random because on DraftKings you're basically looking for a defensive touchdown, and I guess the best way to do that is for a team to get pressure, because pressure creates sacks, and sacks create fumbles, and then fumbles create defensive touchdowns. So I would say.
What about the Jets? Andy Dalton's coming back.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would not play the Jets. I think the Bengals could win that game. I would be concerned about the Jets defense, and they're $3,700 on DraftKings, which is, I think, too expensive.
Oh wow.
The most expensive defense is Carolina at $3,800. I would not pay up for a defense because they're so volatile. I would actually look toward the bottom. So you have the cheapest defense is Oakland at $1,700. Would not play them. Giants at $1,900. Would not play them. Dolphins 21. No. But then I look at Arizona at $2,300. I think they're a good option. They're playing Jared Goff, who's very kind of lost. He looks lost right now. He doesn't have good protection, and we saw last year and also this whole season that when Jared Goff is pressured heavily, he just self-destructs. And as I said, pressure creates sacks, sacks create fumbles, fumbles create defensive touchdowns. And so if Jared Goff is seeing a lot of pressure from Chandler Jones and Terrell Suggs, he could have some sacks that are fumbled, return for touchdowns. So Arizona 2,300 interests me a lot.
Okay.
You know, they're destined to be the worst team in the league. They don't have any draft. The Rams. They don't have any draft choices. They already paid Goff. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. They're only going to get worse.
And it's financially difficult for them too, because what do they do about Jalen Ramsey? They have to make him the highest paid cornerback in the NFL, or they lose him, and they give up draft picks for him. So it's tough. They already have a lot of money dedicated to Jared Goff and Todd Gurley. Yeah. So they have all this money going to a mediocre at best quarterback and a running back with arthritic knees. And now they have to give a lot of money to Ramsey, who is a ticking time bomb, I think. You know, he got into a fight with Marcus Peters after the game.
Yeah.
He's someone who could just easily be suspended for causing trouble. Like, it's very difficult for the Rams right now. I would not want to be in this situation.
Yeah.
So it's a very very high fall from grace for them.
Yes.
They shouldn't have been in the Super Bowl last year, but they were. And now, even though they're 6-5 right now, it feels like that's very lucky. They could easily, I think, be 4-7.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think Arizona kind of stomps all over them this week, but
they're almost as bad off now as they were with Jeff Fisher.
Almost.
Yeah.
Jeff Fisher was pretty bad.
You know, what's interesting is we are coming close to, I guess, when we start looking at who is going to make it to the Super Bowl, which I think that's the exciting part, right? Is to watch some of these unbelievable things happen sometimes. And you go, I mean, could it even be possible that the Dolphins made it? I mean, could they?
I think they're eliminated from the playoffs, I believe.
Eliminated.
Mathematically, probably. Yeah. So, no, I think the more interesting thing is like New England versus Baltimore. It seems that it's destined to be that way. Although I would not count out Kansas City.
Kansas City, yeah.
Yeah, but let's just say it is New England, Baltimore. If the Patriots keep winning, it'll be in Foxborough this time. And if you remember last time, Baltimore had 2 weeks to prepare for that game. So, John, as I said before with Mike Zimmer, when you have an elite coach with 2 weeks to prepare for a game, they usually do very well. And John Harbaugh, I believe, is one of the best coaches in the NFL.
Sure.
So he had 2 weeks to prepare for Tom Brady. But this, like I said, if the Patriots keep winning, that game will be in New England and it'll be on equal footing in terms of rest. I heard that this Belichick guy is pretty good at coaching. So I wonder if he's going to have a good game plan prepared for Lamar Jackson in the rematch. I'd have to say, as cliche as it is, I think New England is probably the favorite right now. Despite Baltimore, actually the Vegas betting favorite, but I would say that I would still favor New England.
Wow. I mean, what year haven't they missed?
Yeah.
I mean, they've been around going for a long time. Yeah. So, okay, I think we're getting ready to wrap up. Kelly, do you got any input or questions?
No, just it was fun listening to you guys. Your show's great.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I have to get you a book of Walter's. It's really fun to read. So, yeah. I kept mine at home. I didn't want to give it to anybody. So,
Nice.
Get your rear end over here and let's do some fantasy picks.
Okay. You see what I got to live with, guys?
Nice.
Anyway, yeah, Walter, thank you. This has been great. So, so you're going to be watching game all day. You're not going to eat turkey?
Oh, I'll eat turkey between the Dallas game and the Saints game. So it'll be. I hope it doesn't go to overtime. So I'll have about a half hour to eat, and then I'll be back at the TV. Okay.
Well, if you get a little bored, our other channel, we've just put on a Thanksgiving special, and we actually had somebody write a Thanksgiving song for us this week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, something about turkey, and it's country, so who knows?
Sounds good. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, so I can't wait to hear it. They just sent it to me, so I'm gonna play it later. But thank you, Walter.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. You guys, enjoy the games, and hope you have a great time with your family.
Yeah, maybe we win. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. All right, that's it for this week. You can go to walterfootball.com for updated fantasy football rankings, picks against the spread, mock drafts. We have everything on the site. And let us know who you're taking in fantasy this week or who you're using on DraftKings. Let us know if you disagree with any of our top 10 rankings. I would love to hear your input on that.
Yeah, we love it. We love that.
Absolutely. Otherwise, I will talk to you guys next week.
All right.
All right, that's a wrap, guys. Thank you.
It's valuable advice you shouldn't have given away, man. We should share that privately. This is anybody who's involved in daily. If they aren't listening to Walter, then they're really missing out. And it's an honor to work with you guys. It's a lot of fun.
I am just having the time of my life, and I need to listen more. and I am. But I also, I'm gonna text you before I make my next. Get the captain right this time. But no, this is a lot of fun, and I've learned so much. And thank you for explaining how all of that works
Yeah.
and what it does.
Yeah.
And even though I didn't win anything, I felt like I gained so much just in
Yeah.
understanding what's going on and what you guys are doing when you're watching football all day long. It's not just about the game,
It's
right?
compelling, dude.
Yeah,
It's theater. There's nothing like it.
so much analytics involved in
Yeah. Yeah.
it is just mind-boggling but fun. But before we go, I want to thank our viewers who dialed in and ask them if they have any questions or pointers, or if they want to just say anything. I'll be more than happy to unmute anyone.
Give us your honest opinion of Walter's book after the flight.
I'm gonna have to definitely. We'll
Think
do
how
that.
much smarter you're going to be after that.
One last question for me. This is from Luke.
Okay.
Let's see if we can pull this
Oh,
up.
yeah. Should he play Austin Hooper if Matt Schaub's playing? That's a great
Right.
question.
So should I still put Austin Cooper in my lineup even if his quarterback is injured and doesn't?
Matt Schaub. Matt
I'm
Schaub.
thinking about the starting Darren Waller ahead of him in that case. And yeah, I've had that written down here. So yeah.
I would play Waller over Hooper. I don't think Hooper's a bad play if Matt Schaub is starting because Schaub is going to have to throw shorter passes. But what you're going to give up with Schaub is potential touchdowns because they might have like one drive at the end or maybe two drives in the fourth quarter where they get toward the red zone.
Well, Schaub throw touchdowns for his team or the other team?
That's true. That's true. So Hooper, who I had at, he's number 2. If Matt Schaub starts, Hooper probably dropped to like number 10 around there. So I would have Waller ahead a little bit over Hooper. Again, like it's not a good matchup, but they use Waller as like a receiver sometimes. So it's not like they're just going to take away a tight end again. Like he's just so talented that. And he's their primary receiver, so I would start Waller over Hooper. But obviously you want to pay attention to the injury report. So
and pay close attention to that before the game, right?
yeah. I mean, even if you do, like with David Johnson, you never know what's going to happen. So it's always a risk, but usually the quarterback's not going to be sidelined after one play. I've never seen that happen before. That would be remarkable. But yeah, so if Matt Ryan is announced as playing, then fire Hooper up. If not, then I would start Waller. So that's what I think about that. But it'd still be close.
Yeah, that's
brilliant, Walter, and thank you to our millions and millions of fans watching on IBMTV.
Well, thank you, Luke, for the great and wonderful questions and all the other people who dialed in. Wait, we got something else. That's a good.
Thank you, Luke. Yeah.
Thank you, Luke. We thoroughly enjoy the fact that you are dialing in, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's it for this week. You can go to walterfootball.com. I'm going to have updated fantasy rankings every single day. We have NFL picks, 2020 NFL mock draft. So lots of content. And the book, please, if you want to support the site, a safety and a field goal, it's available on Amazon. Check that out if you can. Otherwise, I will talk to you guys next week. And for everyone listening, just what do you think? Who are you going to play in DraftKings? Who are you going to play in your year-long leagues? Just let us know. If you have any sleepers that we missed, for sure, let us know in the comments. And otherwise, I'll talk to you guys next week.
Yeah, you guys can always post on Facebook too, and Walter does answer those posts.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Walter. Thank you very much.
Love you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.